Hello, you beautiful legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast. This is episode 491, and after yesterday's emergency broadcast, which was quite unexpected, to be honest, what hit us, well, we knew that the Ireland is on or en route of the storm Isha, but we got used to those storms coming or brushing against Ireland every single year, and I guess we were not expecting this one to be as damaging, especially here in Donegal, because most of the storms are hitting the hardest the south and southwestern part of Ireland, which is Kerry, Cork, Clare regions, maybe Galway, and the Mayo sometimes. But in our case, Donegal is the northmost western part of Ireland, so we happen to be in the less damaging area, albeit we are still getting hit with most of the storms anyway. But I forgot about Cork, the southmost county of Ireland. They get a lot of damage too every single year, floodings, etc. But in our scenario, we tend to be lucky enough to not get too much damage, especially no power outages per se. But yesterday we got hit seriously, and we didn't have power at all for about, 12, probably about 14, 16 hours. So not super bad if you consider that there are people that don't have power for days or weeks, because it might happen as well, depending on how big the damage is or how serious the damage is in terms of power delivery. But we were fortunate to get the power back, fingers crossed, because we don't know if it's permanent or is it temporary for now. But my wife just rang me when we were in town with Julian. So it seems like our power has been recovered around noon, just before noon, which is nice because the expected recovery was about 6 p.m. So we are 6 hours ahead of the planned recovery time. So that's good. My wife was super happy because she could get her tea. So boil the water and get the tea, which is a small or minute nice treat these days, especially when you take energy or electricity for granted. You realize how dependent on it we are when it goes off. So instead of recording the fully fledged episode today, I will just stitch it together with yesterday's episode to make sure that we are even, because yesterday I couldn't upload such a big episode. I didn't have enough battery, and the internet was barely hanging by a thread because I used cellular coverage, and obviously everyone in the area were using cellular towers, so internet was okay. But in our house it's very hard to find the coverage properly because it's well insulated, and that has pros and cons. Pros are obviously the house might be holding heat much longer or preventing the cold from cooling down the house, but it also prevents the wireless signal from getting in. So you need to be close to the windows on the right side of the house to get the coverage. So yeah, because of that, I didn't upload the full episode that I recorded yesterday of about 20 minutes. So what I'm gonna do is I will finish this one now, and I'll stitch this segment with yesterday's episode. So enjoy yesterday's episode, and I'll see you tomorrow for the updates on the aftermath of the storm Isha, because it's still ongoing, albeit the wind gusts are, I think, a bit weaker, still strong but a bit weaker. So we'll see if it's already past us, or maybe we'll get another round this evening. But for now, it looks better, and hopefully we get back on track. So enjoy yesterday's episodes now, and I'll talk about the storm itself and whatever happened yesterday in tomorrow's episode. See ya. Hello, you beautiful legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast. This is episode 490, and at the same time, it's the continuous 490th day of this project ongoing. So both the blog and the podcast have exactly 490 days in a row of writing and podcasting without a single day off. Depending on which stage you joined me in, are you new to the project, or you are maybe a more regular visitor, or a person that actually traces and follows my journey a little bit more often, you probably know that we were in Poland for about 6 days. We flew out of Ireland to Poland on Monday, and we returned technically yesterday, but we were at home here in Donegal, Ireland, literally this morning, about 10 to 5 a.m. So very late or very early, depending on how you look at that. But it was quite a tense time, those 6 days. We went there because we needed to address my wife's condition, and it unfortunately doesn't work well in Ireland because the queues are long, the condition itself is not well, I would say, recognized properly, and different doctors have different opinions, and it's very difficult to get a proper care. So we took it in our hands and decided to go second time to Poland for some injection that helps to manage the condition. But obviously at the same time, since we organized that trip for 6 days, obviously it wasn't just for that. We planned for more than just the injection, because we don't have direct flights the same day in reasonable prices, so we couldn't just fly in and out. And it was actually good that we scheduled for longer than 1 day, because like everything in life, things not necessarily go according to plan. And the treatment itself, initially when we booked the flights in early December or late November, was planned for Tuesday afternoon. So that was 16th of January. But then something turned out for a doctor, and we agreed and readjusted the dates, because it didn't matter for us, because we had tickets from 15th to 20th. It was rescheduled to the next day morning, which was actually even better. But then the weather came into the picture and complicated things, because the doctor that was serving my wife was in Scotland, and Scotland got a bit of unexpected Arctic front and weather that caused the cancellation and delay of many flights, and the doctor that I mentioned couldn't come back from Scotland, where she was on a trip to see her daughter. So, but fortunately, she was able to come the same day and just provide treatment in the afternoon. So it was rescheduled again for the same day, but not in the morning at 8 a.m., but at 3:30 in the afternoon. So that was another complications. If we were just kind of specifically flying on specific day and back, that might have been a fiasco if we wouldn't account for those scenarios. So yeah, that's just a caveat that I wanted to explain. But obviously we flew to Wrocław in Poland. It's the south of Poland. It's very close to the mountains, etc. And the plan was initially to just fly in and back and just stay in Wrocław for those 5 nights. But for different reasons, we considered everything, the time that we spent there, the time of year where the day is fairly short and it's not very attractive for spending time off there in a big city. The attractions that we potentially could have used as a leverage to spend that time there, most of them would be outdoors, and obviously at this time of year in January, outdoorsy wasn't that ideal. And also we didn't plan to visit our parents or our families, but in the end we decided to rent a car and actually plan for visiting them. So these were very long drives, because distance from Wrocław to my wife's hometown is about 300 kilometers, and it's even further to my hometown, which was 420. So it was a challenge. There was a lot of unknown surrounding that trip, because we didn't know what the weather will be, how we can manage this, and if we will be still able to do it the way we wanted. But all in all, I must say that despite all these complications, it went pretty well. But the main update today that I wanted to share with you is about our return, because anything else you can actually read in the blog posts or listen to previous couple of days of updates, and you will get the gist of it. I already kind of repeated probably a couple of points. But yesterday's trip was very challenging and tough, because we were ending our stay at my parents' house, which is about 4.5 to 5 hours drive between my hometown and Wrocław. So not only we had to drive all that way to Wrocław and return the car, but also make sure that we will be on time for the flights, that the flights won't be delayed because of the also weather here in Ireland. The storm is currently ongoing around us and around the British Islands as well. So we were concerned that we might not fly in because some of the flights were cancelled or delayed. And then, even considering that everything goes smooth, we would be landing in Dublin around midnight and driving back to Donegal for another 3 hours, because between Dublin and Donegal is about 220 kilometers between the airport and our house. So that in itself was a challenging bit. And from all of the concerns, only one fortunately came to fruition. The flight was slightly delayed, and we landed in Dublin, I think, around midnight or something like that. So until we picked the luggage, we got to the car park and picked our car and started driving. It was quite late, and I was already totally tired. And we arrived 10 to 5, I believe. Yeah, 4:50, we were exactly in front of our house. Elizabeth and Julian, they went to sleep, and I unpacked a couple of things, turned some devices back on, because obviously we left them off for the time that we were away. And that took me about an hour, because I was going to sleep 10 to 6, something like that. Pretty much exactly 1 hour later. And I woke up today, I think, just after 11 o'clock. So roughly only 5 hours of sleep. And previous night, I only have 6 hours of sleep. So yesterday's drives were totally exhausting. You can probably hear me and see that I don't look fully energetic and rested. But while that long drive to Wrocław was fairly okay, and first half of the drive towards Donegal was also okay, the second half was already very dangerous, and I would say the last 60 kilometers that I drove were on the verge of a very risky business, to the point that I caught myself, almost falling asleep 3-4 times on the last segment, I would say, of the trip. So I was really scared, but eventually we arrived safe and sound, and I'm not planning on doing such a marathon ever again, unless under special circumstances, and I will make sure that I am fully rested, because it was a terrible experience, especially the last part. I would say last hour of driving was very worrying, because it's different when you drive alone, and I was having my family with me in a car that they were sleeping, so I was responsible for them, not only myself. And there's nothing you can do when your body is tired. It uses the systems that are beyond your control. No coffee will work for that. No other, I would say, drugs or cures or medicaments or, I don't know, supplements will help you with that. When body is tired, it will shut down because it needs to rest. And despite me being quite forceful and conscious and aware of what is happening, I had very little to zero control over when my body was kind of making me fall asleep. So I was quite scary. So that's the first segment. I'm not sure if I will record more. Probably yes. So I will be back shortly. This means that it's highly advised to not leave your house unnecessarily, avoid travel, and be generally cautious and stay at home until the storm goes through. Obviously, I had to come to the grocery store to pick a couple of things. It's almost, I would say, dead silent. They are about an hour before they will close, but usually even at this time, parking is at least, a third of it is occupied by cars. Here it's barely any cars, like probably 3-4 cars at a time. And in the shop I was pretty much almost just myself and maybe 4 or 5 other people. So it's mad. It feels like a little bit back to 2020 or COVID days when everything went into almost closure, like situation. So yeah, it's a bit mad. The wind is really serious. We actually risked it a little bit and decided to go for a walk with Julian and Elizabeth and did a small loop of 3 kilometers. But yeah, it was tough and quite scary. We needed to avoid especially the trees because branches are falling like crazy. So you need to be careful, and the smaller objects and debris can be easily lifted by this strong wind, and it makes it even more dangerous. So yeah, I took a car just to drop here quickly and get some stuff or food that expired while we were away, and just to make sure that we have a nice dinner or end of day and have something for tomorrow. I suspect that tomorrow the school might be closed, but so far we didn't receive any message from school that it will be. So in theory, Julian should go to school tomorrow, but we'll see how it goes. Other than that, I just want to sit down and write the blog post and go to sleep as early as possible, because obviously I have some deficit, and after that long trip back from Poland, it was pretty exhausting. For the next couple of days, there's no super plans per se. Obviously, we want to re-engage with the guy that will be building sauna for us, but for the reasons that I mentioned at the beginning, the storm, etc., is expected to stay here today, tomorrow, maybe Tuesday a little bit. Because it's a storm season in Ireland, we kind of expect more to come, but we need to get in touch with this guy and start talk. So definitely this week it will happen. I need to resynchronize with stuff at work, obviously, because I was away for a week. And Julian is starting, in theory, he's starting the swimming lessons tomorrow. All right. Here you are, guys. You see, the shop that I was to pick the groceries is now on some emergency lights just literally a second ago, and you could probably see in how dim I am and how dark it is. The lights went out completely. So I don't know if it's a power outage or not, or did they do it on purpose, but it happened. So let me just wrap up now. Not much to update on for today. I will write the blog post about the lakeside visit as I promised yesterday. So if you are interested, please go into the blog and read the post. In the meantime, thank you very much for tuning in. Apologies for that dark ending. Stay tuned and see you tomorrow.